Yo, YouTube, it's your boy J Steph, man. Back at it with another YouTube reaction, man. We got O Block Chicago in the building, all right? We back in America, okay? We're here to learn about the many M's of 051 Melly, bro, all right? So if you're familiar with the whole O Block King Bond beef with the other side 63rd and 051 and da-da-da-da that's going on, you know what I'm saying? If y'all familiar with the story, y'all know that Melly was one of them ones on the other side of O Block that was really putting in work. He was just another King Von, basically. Just bodies, everybody getting it. You know what I'm saying? So we finna learn about it. This video is coming from Trap Lord Ross, so shout out to bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you're familiar with him. So yeah, be sure to tap them links down below. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hey, without further ado, let's get into it, man. Let's go.
Yeah, before the drill culture would even escalate the gang rivalry in the city is truly tragic, and it may partly explain why Melly would eventually turn into such a cold-blooded killer that he allegedly was. However, this was only the beginning for Melly losing people around him. In July 2009, 21-year-old Dominic Barnes from the 051 neighborhood would be shot and killed, which would years later lead to THF-46 member and Lil Durk's good friend THF Bezu getting charged for the murder, but he would end up beating these charges. Bezu himself would allegedly almost be killed by 051 in April 2011 when 18-year-old THF-46 affiliate Quinton Turner, aka Quint, was killed in a triple shooting, where Bezu was also hit. Years later, Melly would bring up this incident while on Instagram Live with Bezu, after Bezu would claim that Melly and other 051 members were all good kids until THF forced them to hop in the streets by applying so much pressure.
Hey Melly, who forced y'all in?
Who? Who the reason why we play with guns?
Who forced y'all in?
Y'all the
Who
first
forced
people.
y'all in? Y'all would drive y'all mama's cars in 8th grade, bro.
See, you lying. I want to drive my mama's car. I want to drive
y'all grammar school driving y'all mama's cars. The whole your money was the basketball players. Keep it real.
Oh, now you lying for you. You just said half of us ain't. You can say half the young man was basketball players. You ain't gonna say nobody no.
Hey Melly, man, half y'all was the mama's boys, man. Y'all drive y'all mama's cars in 7th and 8th grade, bro.
We forced
y'all in this.
He said you can't say that.
Right now. You know that.
You say y'all the reason why
That nigga really talking about something. You can't say that.
Y'all got a name. It go both ways.
It go both.
No, it go both ways.
Hey, bro.
I don't even give a damn. You want
Hey, he talking about some
both
shit.
ways.
It's
Never,
You niggas
never
funny
been
as
no killing
shit.
without killing. We gonna keep it real though.
We've been into it y'all since 07, bro.
You damn right, but it's never been no killing without killing though. We ain't gonna.
I'm saying what year somebody died from our block?
You said what year?
He said what year?
Oh, hey, I'm keeping fun. Then somebody died at 10, right?
Never heard of him.
What?
He said what? He about
They ain't have it back to back.
to Kirk on this nigga. He about to Kirk on this nigga.
I got shot in 11.
All right, well, you got shot, right?
Yeah.
You got shot and then somebody checked, right? All right, we ain't gonna be.
I got shot for sure.
All right, look, we ain't gonna be doing it on the internet. That ain't for the internet.
Yeah. Chill out. Niggas wildin'.
051's gang rivalries would begin to intensify during the early 2010s, boosted by the rise of social media and the start of the drill music movement. Perhaps the first casualty of this new era on 051's side was 18-year-old Tariq Mahdi, aka T Streets, who was gunned down in November 2011 on a quiet stretch of street in the Washington Park neighborhood. And while this murder has remained unsolved, there have been numerous different theories about who might have been behind it, with many thinking that this was actually the first casualty in the years-long war between 051 and the 600 set. After all, the murder took place very close to 600's hood. However, this theory has been challenged by many people who often claim that T Streets was in fact killed by 051's old enemies, THF-46. King Von, on the other hand, would famously name-drop T Streets in his popular song I Am What I Am, rapping how somebody tried to do a peace treaty and ended up dying like T Streets. These lyrics perhaps hinting that T Streets' murder has a backstory that might not be fully known to the people on the outside. But whatever actually happened, the fact that Melly's first alleged kill would take place only a few days before T Streets' first posthumous birthday, and Melly was certainly claiming to have been killing people in T Streets' name.
So that was his homie. Okay.
On the 2nd of February 2012, 20-year-old Shaquille Rush, aka Shaq, was attending a party with his friends in the 600 set's turf. While Shaq wasn't seemingly actively involved in gangbanging, he lived in the neighborhood and was friends with many members of the 600 set. And in a picture allegedly taken on the night of the party, he can be seen with 600 members C-Day and Inky D dropping the 051 Y hand sign as a sign of disrespect to that set. Later that night, Shaq would reportedly leave the party together with a woman, and they would walk through an alley on the 5900 block of South Calumet Avenue Avenue, where Shaq would possibly stop to take a leak. At this point, one or more people would appear from behind them and open fire, hitting Shaq once on the upper back while grazing the girl on the shoulder. Police and medics would then soon arrive to the scene, and Shaq would be transported to the Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he would unfortunately succumb to his injuries. The following day, local news would report on the murder, stating how Shaq had been killed only 3 blocks away from his home on the 6000 block of South Michigan Avenue. But interestingly, Melly was living, or at least had still recently lived, right on the 5900 block of South Calumet Avenue, where Shaq was killed. But that certainly wasn't the only thing connecting Melly to this murder, because afterwards, Melly would start a years-long campaign dissing Shaq, often taunting 600 members by mentioning how Shaq had been killed whilst he was taking a leak, and most famously in one incredibly dark clip, describing to a little girl how he's exactly the type of guy who would pull off a murder while someone was peeing.
Boy, back right now.
Boy,
Or you ain't getting that.
don't play with my knee.
I'll let you know. You know how I play out here. You don't come with that money, shawty. Come up in the mission. You talking? You don't know who I am?
Tell him stop playing with her.
You know who I am?
I know my daddy.
You scared of the dark?
What is wrong with this nigga?
I'm one of them type of guys that be in the dark waiting for you when you gotta go pee at night. And I just get you, and you don't never come back to your parents again.
No, you're not cool.
You hear me? Then your TT ain't gonna be able to save you.
Oh.
Your daddy, he gonna be crying somewhere like, man, she don't got nothing to do with me. Just take me.
Still, some people close to the events have denied Melly actually being behind the murder, most notably 600 veteran Tay Capone, who has openly said on his YouTube channel that Melly actually wasn't the killer. Another
he's
person
saying
often
that he
connected
did
to
do
this
that.
murder is an 051 member called Kiddo, who has similarly dissed Shaq on many occasions, even tweeting, "Kill Shaq, then forget about Shaq," only a few weeks after the murder, with this actually being a play on Chief Keef lyrics from his 2012 hit song 300. But whether the killer was Melly or someone else, it seems that 600 clearly considered 051 to be responsible, as they would allegedly end up avenging Shaq's death only a few months later in June, when the only 14-year-old Antonio Davis, aka Fathead, who was one of the youngest members of 051, but had been hanging out with them since he was a kid, was walking to a store with his cousin in the Englewood neighborhood. An assailant would spot Fathead from a van before approaching him on foot and shooting him numerous times while standing over him. Nobody has ever been convicted of this murder, and in online spaces it's been a topic of intense debate for years now. But the Chicago police consider the case to be exceptionally cleared and committed by several people, most notably 2 members of the 600 set, Walter Smith, aka S-Dot, and Courtney Ely, aka C-Day, as well as a member of Lil Durk's Lamron set
C-Day.
named Marvin Riley, aka OJ, who the police claim to have been the triggerman based on Fathead's cousin's description of the killer. Only a few days after the murder, Melly would once again begin to taunt 600 members, openly bragging how his set had killed Shaq, while claiming that 600 couldn't say they had killed anyone from his set, perhaps referring to OJ being the one who actually killed Fathead. On the other hand, Fathead's brother has seemingly put the blame directly on C-Day, who's also known by the nickname 22 Shots, writing on a tribute post to Fathead how he's 622K or 600-22 killer. In any case, the murders of T Streets and Fathead launched a years-long rivalry, which wasn't just limited to tit-for-tat killings between 051 and 600, but would become part of a larger war in the South Side between 051 and their affiliates, and numerous majority black disciple sets affiliated with 600, like O-Block, Front Street, Lamron, and of course THF-46, who had already been at war with 051 for years at this point. 051 would allegedly avenge Fathead's death in November 2012, killing a 19-year-old named Trey Henry, aka Trix, who was affiliated with 600. This was followed in June 2013 with the murder of 19-year-old Robert Allen, known as Lil Rob, or Beto, from the Lamron set. These murders have remained officially unsolved, but 051 has heavily claimed both, with Melly too implying that his set was behind these murders. Although Melly himself isn't often directly connected to these murders in online rumors, regardless of who had done what, 05 weren't done killing, and in September 2013 they would strike again, killing 17-year-old Leonard Anderson, better known as the up-and-coming rapper LA Capone from the 600 set. This was a devastating blow for 600, as LA was considered their most promising rapper, who had become increasingly close with other rappers in the community like Lil Durk, who at this point had already signed a major deal with Def Jam Records and was rumored to have been in the works of helping LA Capone land a major record deal for himself as well.
Damn.
He kept telling me that he's supposed to be meeting T.I. So flying to Atlanta with Dirk and meeting T.I. and like that. This what he used to be telling me, like before, like around time. He's telling me, man, I'm finna fly out, meet T.I. Dirk, he was flying out at this point. Like he had went on a couple shows with Dirk.
LA's murder would eventually be solved, leading to the arrests and convictions of two 051 members, Michael Mays, aka 051 Rocco or Rockhead, and Saki Hardy Johnson, aka Lil Mick, as well as a third person named Miko Buchanan. 051 Melly, on the other hand, would once again take part in the dissing, making numerous tweets in the days following LA Capone's murder where he would make fun of him and boasting about all the people that his set had killed to avenge Fathead's death. But interestingly, Melly would often also mention Lil Durk in his tweets, making it seem that he was actually a fan of Durk's music, despite Durk being such close friends with Melly's enemies. But whether he was serious or just trolling at this point, Melly's fixation on Lil Durk would eventually become Lil Durk's worst nightmare. In March 2014, 600 would allegedly get their revenge, as 20-year-old Mark Campbell, better known as Lil Mark from 051, would be brutally gunned down in broad daylight while standing on the bus stop at 51st Street. Only a few days before his murder, Lil Mark had dropped a diss song called No Competition, a remix of Lil Durk's song Competition, dedicated diss track aimed towards the Black Disciple sets like 600, Lil Durk's Lamron, and King Von's O-Block. This song had made Lil Mark the #1 target in the streets, and it wouldn't take long before those who Lil Mark had dissed would be claiming his murder, with particularly D Rose from 600 and King Von from O-Block starting the dissing only hours after Lil Mark's death. But this time also Lil Durk, whose song Lil Mark had remixed just before dying, would decide to take the dissing to a whole new level, actually filming himself at the very bus stop where Lil Mark had been gunned down, telling people that he was in a very famous place, along with the caption 3THFTP, this being a member of the THF46 set who actually made an entire song dissing Lil Mark titled Bus Stop.
Bus stop, man. Hey, this bus stop right here though. This a real famous place. You hear me? This is a real famous place, B. Hey, this bus stop is a real famous place, B. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? Free my nigga team.
In online theories, this video is often considered to have perhaps been one of the biggest mistakes that Lil Durk has ever made, because while Durk was already a famous rapper, traveling all over the country, making it very hard for his ops to catch him, it seems that 051 Melly, after this video, would make it his mission to show that in the streets of Chicago, he was the one in charge, and that everyone close to Durk that still was in these streets would not be safe. Moreover, Melly had become close with Durk's old friends, as Durk and his OTF crew had a falling out with the rapper King Louie and his Mubu crew in the summer of 2013. This all came out after a fight would erupt between Mubu and OTF, together with Chief Keef's Glow Gang, while they were performing in Iowa.
They started wrecking. Oh, they getting down. Damn. Niggas was probably high. And then they just started swinging. I'm surprised nobody ain't. Oh wait, no, they in Iowa. Now they probably flying off. They probably ain't fly off. I can't even see shit, boy. They must have been brawling like shit. They probably had to cancel the show.
Rank scorekeeper due to Crump's deep knowledge about the city's gang law and his propensity to partake in online drama.
And now we're talking about the Chirac scorekeeper. Now, if you don't know who that is, a lot of people have asked, who is a scorekeeper? Now, the person that's known as a scorekeeper is this individual that's known as Crump. Now, apparently, he's with the shits, he's a savage, but most notably, he's known for
Nigga sound like a baby ass nigga.
To crash out for him at any moment, but now he was one of Lil Durk's worst enemies, and with Melly's notorious trigger finger and Crump's infamous Twitter fingers working in tandem, things were about to get very dark for Lil Durk. On the 31st of May 2014, only a few months after Lil Mark's death, Durk would be out in Chicago, driving around with his cousin MacArthur Swindle, who was known as Lil Durk's new rap prodigy, OTF Nunu, or Nooski. They would stop at a strip mall on the 700 block of East 87th Street, and Durk would go to visit one of the stores, while Nooski stayed back and waited in the car. At around 3:20 PM, while Durk was inside the store, someone would suddenly approach the car, opening fire at Nooski, who would attempt to drive away from the situation. Unfortunately, he'd already been hit numerous times, and would crash his car into a nearby storefront window before succumbing to his injuries. Someone at the scene would even capture the moment of Lil Durk seeing his deceased cousin and breaking down, which his ops would later post on social media to mercilessly troll him. Nooski's murder remains officially unsolved, but in online theories, Melly has always been one of the main suspects. Only about an hour and a half after Nooski had been killed, Melly would simply tweet a bunch of laughing emojis with no further context. This will be followed by another tweet of Melly saying that he had heard that somebody was looking for him, and yet another tweet, this time clearly referring to the shooting by posting a bunch of emojis depicting a person running and shooting. The following day, Melly would start making fun of Nooski more directly, laughing at someone commenting on the news story about about the incident, and he would also make a tribute post to Fathead and Lil Mark, saying how he wished he could see them again, but that he has to continue turning up for them in the streets. Crump, on the other hand, had been going back and forth with Newski even before his death, with Crump calling Newski a fake gangster, and not long after Newski's death, Crump would let his infamous Twitter fingers loose, dissing Newski for being an internet gangster who had been talking tough online, but now would face the real consequences. But Crump wasn't satisfied with just tweeting, and eventually, he would even post a video of himself at the murder scene, even saying how he was there with the very person who killed Newski. He doesn't want to be on camera, which many have taken to be an obvious reference to 051 Melly.
Them left Newski. They left his ass right here. You feel me? They left his ass up here on folks and them tweaking. Buying some shoes. Y'all see real be up here though. Nigga play with me up here on folks in this building be on the news. I look like Newski. Hit his ass up right here on Pat. I'm with the that did. He don't want to be on camera though. Hit his ass up right here on Pat. They f my boy up. Right here, you feel me? Historic events. Y'all know I'm gonna bring y'all around this shit. Historic events. Wish you would play with me, boy. I look like Newski. He ran into this though. He ran into the children's place, died like a bitch on Pokes now.
Campaign to torment Lil Durk. Later that year, Durk would actually come face to face with Melly, as the two would run into each other during a meet and greet event for the rapper T.I., where Durk was together with his OTF crew, while Melly would arrive with King Louie's Mubu crew. This would lead to a major scuffle between the two crews, requiring the police to break things up.
Yeah, they was getting down. It was like, what's up? Hey, it's up, bro. Oh yeah, it's up. It's up. They getting down. Oh my gosh, boy, it is on sight. Oh my gosh, it is a war. We got OTF over there. Oh yeah, they trying to grab. Look at that. Oh yeah. I'm surprised nobody ain't fire off yet. Oh well, they ain't gonna fire off because the police right there. Yeah, they ain't gonna do. They ain't that stupid. They ain't that stupid.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is lit. Oh, they about to get it. He said dirt.
Hey, the police said, come on, bro.
Hey, get up out of there. Everybody just chill out. Get up out of there before y'all get arrested, man. 'Cause I know y'all got drugs and shit on you.
I already know to stay back, folks. I want to give a special apology to my motherfucking brother, Henry from the shop, man. The shop 147. I apologize for disturbing the peace, OTF as a whole. You my brother, and you know I got your back 100%. Talking about a nigga choke me, man. What the f going on, man? You already know we can fight head up if you want to. We can shoot it out on you goof ass.
Oh no,
man. You talking about Crump? Why the f was you running? Wrong, you Louis too, man. Crump and Louis.
Afterwards, Melly would troll about the incident on Twitter, saying that Durk had panicked after seeing him and had failed to do anything to him before their crews got into it, perhaps subtly implying that Durk should have at least tried something given what Melly had done to Newski. But unfortunately for Durk, Melly had zero intentions of keeping the beef only on the internet. Less than a year after Newski's murder, he would allegedly strike again.
damn. This nigga is struck again?
In the early morning hours of the 27th of March 2015, Lil Durk's manager, OTF Chino, real name Uchina Aguina, was sitting in his car outside a fast food spot on the 8400 block of Stony Island Avenue. After having taken part in a meeting with basketball star Jakeem Noah about their anti-violence campaign earlier that evening, then, just like in Newski's murder, an unknown assailant would suddenly walk up to the car, open fire, hitting Chino multiple times. By the time an ambulance would arrive to take him to the hospital.
How is this nigga getting the drop on everybody? Like, how does that work, bro? Who sees you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, every time it's bro, what time did they say it was? 2 o'clock in the morning? They said it is 2 o'clock in the morning. And some random nigga just comes up to the car and blows him down. Like, who sees him? Cause bro, it's no way, bro. It's no way Melly is just walking out here, strolling and pop. You feel me? Like, who is giving the drop up?
He would end up being pronounced dead on arrival. Afterwards, Mubu Crump would do what he did best, shooting another video of him visiting the death site and trolling Lil Durk, asking the cashier at the food store if they had an order for Newski before trolling and demanding a Chino burger.
This nigga is still trolling, bro.
Y'all got that order for noose? Chino burger. Chino burger. Yeah. Y'all got it? Hey, ready? Oh, thank you.
Nigga tweaking, man. This nigga is on live, bro. Go to the next one, man. I ain't trying to see all this trolling shit,
real name
man.
Jerome Anderson, would also reportedly be gunned down by an assailant getting around in a gold-colored car. A member of 051
Hold on.
to Chino's murder, one of the founding members.
Hold on. Let me see.
Y'all, this shit ain't done, man. Y'all put this shit back to the grill, man. This shit disgusting, man. Get this shit together, man. For real, this shit bogus as hell.
Only about a week after Chino's murder, one of the founding members of the 600 set, called Lil Boo, real name Jerome Anderson, would also reportedly be gunned down by an assailant getting around in a gold-colored car. A member of 051 called Ario, real name Arius Fitch, would be arrested as a suspect in the case later that very same day, but many have also rumoured Melly to have been involved in the case, particularly as Lil Boo's sister would later diss Melly after his death, telling him to say hi to his brother in the afterlife.
What?
Following Chino's murder, Lil Durk has been rumoured to have placed a $150,000 bounty on Melly's head, which while unproven, may not be far-fetched given the murder-for-hire charges that Lil Durk is currently locked up for. This would allegedly lead to a young member of the THF-46 set called Raheem, who was only 15 years old at the time, to try and hunt Melly down a few months later in May, actually catching him and other 051 members on the 6000 block of South Wentworth Avenue and opening fire at them, hitting Melly in the head and foot, whilst also hitting others, including Lil Boo's alleged—
Oh my god, this 15-year-old boy ran. Oh shit. Jesus Christ.
killer Ario. All victims would be taken to hospital with serious injuries, but miraculously, nobody would die in the incident. And afterwards, pictures were posted online showing Melly with crutches and a cast on his leg, while he would also jump on Twitter and let everybody know that he wasn't shaken by the incident one bit, as Melly's brother Wu would also later tell Zach TV.
Hey, I got two brothers and they know it. Arrow, check it out. What's up? My big brother Arrow, my big brother Melly. Y'all know we blood.
Zach and all this shit. Finna see all this shit.
Shout out to Zach one time.
Shout out to JCV, man.
My nigga.
All the time. Free roll?
It's your money, man. I tell you different on the camera, man. They be lying, man. We doing this shit.
Look, catch me.
One headshot, one shit y'all did, boy.
Hey, no, shout out. So he really straight off that headshot. Man, y'all know it.
But unfortunately for Raheem, shooting the Chirac gravedigger but not killing him—
I don't know about y'all, but if I caught a headshot, why am I getting back on the camera and talking shit? They just showed me that they're willing to headshot me, and by the grace of God, I made it through. I'm not saying anything on the internet anymore. I'm getting my mask and I'm sliding until I catch everybody. Why are we, like, you know what I'm saying, bruh? Why, like, I don't, man,
and
look.
he was going to be moving with a huge target on his back from that point onwards, and Melly would make it
How did
clear
they know
by
it was
swearing
him,
on Lil
though?
Mark's life that he was going to make his enemies suffer. Only a few days later, on the 24th of May, Raheem and another teen were walking in an alley near 45th Street and Cottage Grove Avenue in the Bronzeville neighborhood, when someone would ambush them and shoot both, killing Raheem while injuring his friend. Once again, Melly's friend 051 Ario, who had just last month been arrested in the relation to the murder of Lil Boo, and who had been one of the people injured in the shooting together with Melly, would be arrested for the murder. This time, the arrest would also lead to charges. Police reports would later reveal how Ario's arrest had led to an absurd moment where he would allegedly pleasure himself inside the interrogation room. During the trial, the prosecutor would argue that Ario had murdered Raheem to avenge the earlier shooting that had also injured Melly. But once again, despite persistent rumors that Melly had also participated in the shooting, and numerous times that Melly had seemingly dissed Raheem and even implied that he'd taken part in the murder, Melly himself would never be charged.
Can't smoke.
Wow.
We ain't doing shit. I don't know.
We don't know. I don't know what we ain't smoking nobody.
I got shot 2 weeks. He expired.
You want me to read you a bedtime story and tuck you in?
Oh yeah.
Tell you about this when he walked down this dark alley. He ain't make it to the other end of the alley.
I'm just reading the comments, bro.
You talking about
I'm
me
just
in the
asking.
comments.
You said you finna go to sleep.
I am.
And I say you want me to tell you about this story about this nigga, right? He went in through the one end of the alley, but he didn't make it to the other end. It was a black alley to take the story.
I heard of it.
It's a story. Why you never heard of it? Why you wasn't there? Of course.
I've heard of it.
They said never heard of him. I wonder if he know he trying to troll. He probably do know he trying to troll. That's why he's saying that. Oh my gosh, another one? How many
After
bodies do
Raheem's
this
murder,
nigga
Melly would
got?
seemingly lay low for over a year, but in November 2016, he would allegedly strike again. On the 26th of November, a mass shooting would take place inside a party on the 8800 block of South Exchange Avenue, which would end up killing 18-year-old Daquan Barnett, also known as Bankroll Q from Melly's 051 Young Money set, a shooting that also injured 5 others. The online rumors would later claim that the shooting was done by youngsters from the so-called Motown part of Chicago, a neighborhood that's for the longest time been associated with the Black P Stones. One of these youngsters, called Breeze, would later seemingly brag about the shooting on Twitter, but meanwhile, another one would end up losing his life less than 24 hours later. The following day after the fatal party, at around 2:03 p.m., 18-year-old Delvon Weston, known in the streets as Lil Del from the Folly Boys set, which is one of the many sets based in Motown, was sitting in a parked car on the 8800 block of South Marshfield Avenue in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood, when a dark-colored SUV would pull up next to him and someone would open fire, hitting Del several times in the chest. And while he was reportedly able to drive himself to the Christ Medical Center, he would ultimately be pronounced dead at 2:22 p.m., only a few minutes after death.
My God, boy. How is this nigga getting the drop on everybody, bro? He's literally getting the drop on every single person, bro. Randomly pulling up at night while the nigga's sitting in the car, like, how?
Del was pronounced dead at the hospital.
How?
051 Melly would hop on Twitter, simply tweeting, "I'm at army alone," followed by "right back," as if he was celebrating a successful get back. This was followed by a tweet saying, "Finna go change my clothes," that he would post together with a video showing himself sitting in a car while talking to a person who would show a gun to the camera before seemingly saying how they had got someone or something.
No, you a little yeah. No, you a bite him. Oh yeah. You got them. That's what I'm talking about. When? That time.
When you gotta get your girlfriend, you gotta be faithful, bro.
I got a girlfriend.
You gotta get like me. You gotta get like me. You got
girlfriend named I'm out of that though, G. What's wrong?
The person who Melly was talking with was a little-known face in the drill scene at the time, but he would later become known in connection to Lil Durk's murder-for-hire allegations, as this person would turn out to be none other than Stephon Mack, who would also be eventually killed in 2022, allegedly as a retaliation for the murder of Lil Durk's brother D-Thang. But later on, Melly's other friends would also often make posts on social media implying that Del's murder was connected to the death of Bankroll Q, and that Melly had in fact had something to do with it. But besides tweets, the murder of Del, like so many of Melly's other alleged bodies, is only based on online rumors and theories. However, in 2017, Melly would allegedly commit a murder that would almost get him caught. On the 13th of June, at approximately 10:30 p.m, residents on the 5000 block of Drexel Boulevard would report gunshots, and in the building's gangway, 22-year-old Dandre Smith was found lying dead, his body riddled with bullets. The investigators would eventually learn that Dandre, known in the streets as Lord Dre, was a friend of 051 Melly, and on the day of his death, he had been asked by Melly to participate in the robbery of a drug dealer. However, this robbery plan was allegedly just a ruse to get Dre to meet Melly, who he might have known deep down was out to get him, as Dre would allegedly text his brother to let him know that he was with Melly in case something happened to him. Melly and a woman named Tiara would then allegedly drive Dre to the building on Drexel Boulevard before Melly would shoot him in the gangway. But why would Melly kill somebody who had supposedly been his friend? Perhaps they'd had a falling out recently, or perhaps for a much darker reason. Because if the investigators are to be believed, the reason had a much more sinister explanation, as Melly had allegedly learned that there was a $12,000 bounty that had been placed on Dre's head, which was money that Melly needed to bond out his brother Wu, who had been a...
Oh my God, this nigga sold him out. This nigga sold out his mans for 12 bands to get his brother out of jail. Oh my gosh.
Arrested 2 days earlier on weapons charges. In fact, Melly and his brother Wu would even allegedly have poorly disguised coded conversations about the murder plot on recorded phone calls while Wu was still in jail, while a witness would tell the investigators that Melly had tried to claim to her that it was THF-46 who were trying to kill him and Dre, and that both Melly and Dre had money on their heads, and that it was only a matter of time before one of them would kill the other to claim the bounty. However, at the time, the police simply didn't have enough evidence to hold Melly on these charges, and while they didn't know it at the time, before they could ever capture him for good, it would already be too late, both for Melly and his next victims. At the end of 2017, Melly's good friend Mubu Crump would be released from federal prison after he'd been locked up for about 2 years, and he would get back onto the streets and online and do what he does best: Troll, even dropping a song dissing Dirk and his crew titled OTFK, where he would diss numerous gangs and sets like THF46 and Lamron, as well as dead people like Newski and Chino. Crump would keep disrespecting his ops, perhaps thinking they had all gone Hollywood together with Lil Durk, but unfortunately for Crump, there were plenty of his enemies still left who were willing to show him that he wasn't the only tough guy in the city, and that even having a top shooter like Melly around couldn't save him. In the early morning hours of May 25th, 2018, Crump and Melly were attending a party on the 6800 block of South Morgan Street, only a few blocks away from Lil Durk's Lamron set's hood. While Crump, whose real name is Ronald Crump, was standing outside the party with another man, a car would drive by and someone inside would open fire, striking both. Crump would pass away from his injuries, but the other man would end up surviving after a surgery. Now, there's been many rumors about that second victim, with many claiming that this person had in fact been Melly himself and that he had actually been the main target. But while Melly seemingly was in the party, he would deny having been the second victim while on an Instagram live with Dirk's good friend and OTF affiliate Bezu from THF46.
If I was there, it wouldn't go on. If I was there, it wouldn't go on. You could say one person, and I wasn't there. I was in the bushes.
I was in the bushes.
You know why I know you lying.
What situation? You just say one person.
No, bro, we getting recorded, bro. You know that. I'm not gonna say no name. You know what's going on.
I just told you I was that one person. And what was I doing when it was going on? I was fucking running to gunfire.
Yeah.
I ain't no stupid.
Super Saber, right?
You heard the thing to you. I'm real smart. You even told me I'm not no idiot.
The police report on the shooting would also note how the second victim had no gang affiliations or previous arrests, and the victim's age would also be reported as 28, while Melly was only 26 at the time. But whether Melly himself had been shot or not, he was looking to avenge his good friend's death. And while nobody would be arrested for the murder, if dissing was anything to go by, Melly would certainly have no problem deciphering who had been behind the hit, as people connected to Lil Durk's OTF crew were quick to start rejoicing over Crump's death, with everybody from Lil Durk to Bezu and even King Von, who had only recently returned home after beating his own murder charges, would participate in the dissing. Bezu would seemingly even later imply that the police had come looking for him after Crump's murder.
Hey, look, the Crump woofing at me on the internet.
All right, man, I'm gonna leave it right there, bro. I'm probably gonna come back to this another time, but yeah, man, this nigga is crazy, bro. I don't know how many bodies we just heard about. Melly is crazy, just like King Von and them. You know what I'm saying? The same thing. It is crazy, boy. But be sure to tap them links down below, like, comment, and subscribe.